That's how we go. It's like we just won't talk about that. So
it's all right. It's not great.
Yeah, there you go. Welcome back to the Project Gen X podcast. I am one of your hosts, Alan Smith, along with...
I'm the other guy, Big Dave.
And since we are recording this in Labor Day weekend, we're really starting to move into the most wonderful time of the year. We're only, what?
I have already decreed it. It is the spooky season.
Yes, as of September 1st, I think
I said it was.
Season.
I said this was Halloween 1st.
Right. Yes, that was. I think I told you that. And I think, have you ever been to dinosaurdracula.com?
You've pointed me over that direction a time or two. Yeah,
that's been an ongoing website for a long time. I don't know, probably 15, close to 20 years, probably.
Sure.
And Matt, the guy that runs it, declared a few years back, like maybe in the last 5 years or so, that September 1st is the official start of Halloween season. And I'm like, okay, I'm there with you. You said it, I'm there. There we go.
Well, considering I was actually finding Reese's pumpkin peanut butter
in July.
cups, yeah,
I know,
in July, I was like, yes.
And I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that.
The spooky season has arrived.
I have noticed that a lot of places, I guess the first real sighting I had was at Kroger. Like, literally, it was one display of Reese's pumpkins.
Yeah.
And then a couple days later, I was at Dollar General, and they had a bunch of the candy out already.
That's where I found my single display of the Reese's stuff.
And it's just kind of been a growing, like, Walgreens is starting to get their stuff. Kroger has got all their candy out, but they haven't put out their decorations yet. Target is putting out all of their decorations right now.
It's about time.
Walmart at this point has their fall stuff out, but not really any of the Halloween stuff yet.
Yeah.
Now, it's right on the. Of course, they're still kind of skirting that line of moving the back to school stuff out to where they can put all the Halloween stuff.
No, they're
up,
moving the back to school stuff out so they can put up the Christmas trees. Let's be honest with it.
What really kind of made me mad about that, and it does it Walmart has done this for a few years in a row now, of literally, like, when you walk in, they've got like whatever holiday stuff up right there.
Yep.
All you have to do is walk one aisle past that, and you'll start seeing Christmas stuff already. Yeah. Target is bad about that. They will, about, I don't know, the first part of October, will consolidate everything off of the very back aisle of their holiday section and start putting up Christmas stuff back there immediately. And it's like, look, first off, and I know we've bitched about this on here before, but it really makes me mad that people want to get Christmas out so fast. But the thing is
this grinds my gears.
It really does, because it's like, okay, first off, we're not even through Halloween, plus Thanksgiving is still right in the middle of the two. So, and that's the biggest problem that I have had since I was a teenager about the whole Christmas thing is, look, I love Christmas as much as anybody else does, okay?
But there are two seasons between Labor Day and Christmas.
There are two holidays between that, and yes, and one kind of carries into the other. I mean, a lot of I remember my mom putting out, our Halloween decorations and stuff.
Yep.
And then, like, on November 1st, she basically would just turn the jack-o'-lanterns around to where they were pumpkins.
Right.
And, the not the actual pumpkins, but like the like decorations that we had were like, a lot of it was just interchangeable between the two. And the Christmas stuff, it was always, after Thanksgiving is when you can start putting the Christmas stuff up.
Exactly.
That's not the way it is any longer. Nope. I have, where was it? I forget where I was. And I took a picture of it. I think I posted it on my Facebook. And this was in August. This was last year, like the first part of last year. I walked into some place, and they did have a Christmas tree up.
Yeah. Probably Walmart.
It wasn't Walmart. It was...
Because I know the Walmart where we go did that to me one year.
It was... Where was it? It was someplace odd. I do remember that. It was kind of one of those, like... First off, it's odd that you're putting up a Christmas tree here. Yeah. But secondly, the fact that it's already up in August, and we've got all this time to go, between now and then.
Yeah.
Like I said, if we could just give it to the day after Thanksgiving. From there on to Christmas, I'm fine with that. But they can't do it. They just can't do it.
I'll concede this.
And I have family members who are like, "Is it too early for me to start putting my Christmas tree?" And I'm like, "Yes, it is. Yes, it is."
If you put up Christmas decor right now, I am legally allowed to murder you and use you as part of my Halloween decorations.
Yeah. I have heard people say, if you're going to put up your Christmas tree in October, then I'm going to leave up my Halloween decorations through December. It's kind of like, Dave can tell you this.
Your Halloween stuff never comes down.
My Halloween stuff's been up since last year, and I bought more today to put up. And it's not like big, but I mean we're talking about like cut out decorations,
the retro
and,
style
retro type stuff. I've got
yeah.
some window clings that that have stayed on my doors for since last year, and I'm like, no, I'm fine with it. I don't care. And several times people come and like, hey, Halloween's over. It's like, says
so
you.
Halloween is not a holiday; it's a lifestyle.
Exactly.
My friend.
So now that we've bitched about that for 6 minutes, I guess we should probably get into what we're going to actually be talking about on this episode.
Welcome to your preview of Oktoberfest.
Yes. This actually is a good preview of Oktoberfest. So we're going to be talking. Dave and I have put together our fall songs playlist.
Well, no, what you proposed to me when you called me was, what's your playlist? The weather's turning cooler. You're going to roll the windows down or have the windows open in the house, and you're just going to have a playlist to listen to. Well, I didn't do this song relates to fall and this song relates to fall.
Well, no, I don't mean like the songs are like fall, like they talk about the fall of the year or anything.
Okay,
it's like it's the songs that remind us of fall. Basically,
you have pulled some switcheroos.
No. I no. Mine is 100% that same thing where it's like these songs. Whenever I listen to them in the fall of the year because it reminds me of a certain time in my life. Whatever, and during this time, back to school, football games, whatever it was, it's like, yes, that's what all of mine are. So.
The way I basically built mine is like, mine was for going back to where I was either in college or in high school or something like that.
Right.
And I was going to be putting this on in the car as I was leaving school.
Now,
and mine starts out very mellow
and
eases over into something a little other than that.
Okay.
Because it would be like, okay, I have left school and then I'm going to be gone the rest of the night, and this is getting over into like midnight.
Okay. Mine's not quite as thought out. How many songs do you have? I always have to ask this question because I asked you to make a top 10, which I did not say a top 10.
No, you didn't
give me a number. Give a number. But if I do say, hey, give me a top 10, you show up with 300 songs. So I see you're still counting. I have 14 on mine.
I've got 20.
Okay, well we're 20. Okay, well we're somewhere.
I did okay on this one, and there's a couple bands there where they've got a couple songs.
Okay, that's fine. Do you want to go first since you have?
My first song that I started out with is Nick Drake, "Place to Be."
Okay, that's a good song.
Yeah, it's kind of mellow. It's kind of that. I'm in the car. I'm driving. The leaves are out. It's a great.
And I'm adding to mine now, so it's.
Let's see. I inspired you already.
Well, it's when I put this together because I actually have like a what I call fall songs playlist on my phone. On my iTunes or my Apple Music or whatever. I don't know what they're calling it these days.
I'm back. I have to admit, I'm back on Spotify. Yeah. I couldn't stay away.
You just couldn't quit it. Huh?
Couldn't quit it.
But it's one of those things where even with that, every once in a while, I'm like, oh no, this song should be on there. Oh no, this song. So it's always an ever evolving. So Nick Drake. Nick Drake. Probably best known for Pink Moon because it was in that Volkswagen commercial 20 years ago.
This is actually on that same album. Mm-hmm. After that commercial, I loved that song so much. Mm-hmm. I was like, who is that? And I went and I discovered and found a lot of his music. Right. I ended up buying that album. And this is probably one of my favorite songs off of that album.
Nice.
Instead of Pink Moon.
Yeah. Well, I've heard more than just Pink Moon, and he was good stuff. Like I really do enjoy a lot of his stuff. So, okay, well, my first one, sure. I don't have mine in any like, oh, I play this, then I play this, then I play it. It's like, no, these are just the songs. Okay, and we'll talk about.
So we did a little bit different build on each one.
My first one is Firewoman by The Cult.
Oh, that's a good one.
I mean, that just when I hear that opening that opening guitar riff, I'm like, oh yeah, falls here.
I love The Cult. I actually saw those guys
at River Stages.
Stages on the same tour with Black Crows on the Lions tour. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was there
Great
for that.
show.
Yeah, they that song just, again, it takes me back to high school.
Yeah.
Freshman year of high school, I guess, somewhere in there when that song hit.
Yeah.
And that was just, it was a huge, like, coming into that fall, that school year.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
All right, what's your next one?
It's actually Mazzy Star with Ride It On.
Okay. I almost put Fade Into You on this.
I've got something from that same album as the third song.
Yeah. All right, explain this one.
It's just, when I was listening to that Nick Drake song, I kind of put it together like if I was in the car and I was like picking stuff off the radio or like a iPod playlist. I was like,
right.
Oh, I like this song. Oh, that reminds me of this song. And that's when I hit this one. And each song is like, oh, I love this song. I should listen to this song next.
Right.
Oh, that's a good song. That reminds me of this song, so I should listen to this song next. And kind of build it that way.
I got you.
So, yeah, Ride It On. And if you want me to go ahead and do the third one is Wasted, off of that same album with Fade Into You.
Okay. That was So That They Might Sleep. No, what was the name of that album?
Honestly,
I think it's So That They Might Sleep.
I think so.
I'm almost positive.
Ride It On is actually on the album previous to that one.
But that was, and the whole reason I almost put Fade Into You, because, again, that was fall of '94 whenever that hit.
Like
I remember that pretty vividly. Like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. But I decided not to put that one on there. Probably should have, now that I've mentioned it a couple of times. So.
Go ahead and write it down.
Yeah, I really like that one on here.
List. Yeah.
My next one, Love in an Elevator by Aerosmith.
That's a good one.
Again,
yep.
Around that same time period, those songs that, Dude Looks Like a Lady had been big like all summer.
Yep.
And then Love in an Elevator hit right as school was coming back in, and again, I think I was either a freshman or a sophomore. I don't remember exactly when it was. I think it was in 88, so I guess I was a sophomore going into my sophomore year.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, dude, this is, Yeah, I've got a lot of like that late 80s metal on here, early 90s a little bit.
The first part of my list is very much of that. I'm trying to decompress from classes and I'm trying to relax a little bit type thing.
Fair enough. What's your next one?
Cowboy Junkies. Sweet Jane.
Okay. You're all mellow.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, no, that's a good. I think we've talked about this on here before. Velvet Underground and Lou Reed.
Yeah.
I have tried many, many, many times to understand them the way that people talk about them that are like big fans.
No, I get it.
And I don't. I mean, that's the thing. I will say I like a lot of their stuff, but I don't get it the way that their fans get it.
To me, they're kind of like Tom Waits, to where they write some really great songs,
right?
But they really don't take on a life of their own until somebody else does their interpretation of that song.
I get that, especially with Tom Waits.
Don't get me wrong.
Don't get me wrong. I love Tom Waits.
Love Tom Waits. I love his versions
right.
of all of his songs.
Right.
But when somebody else grabs one of his songs and records it in their vision of it,
right,
it kind of takes on a different life.
Right. Yeah. I get that. Yeah.
And Sweet Jane's one of those.
Sweet Jane is one of those Junkies. Like. I do like the Lou Reed version of that, well, I guess it was Velvet Underground originally, I like their version of it, but I think that the Cowboy Junkies version is the superior version because it has a whole different feel to it.
Yeah.
It is. They slowed it way down.
Yeah, they did.
And it's got like a real, like, a melancholy to it, you know, and it's like,
Cowboy Junkies have an exquisite melancholy to
them. They do. And even their, like, quote-unquote up-tempo songs are, because they don't really have any real up-tempo songs. I mean, like, it was that, was it Common Disaster? Was that the name of the song?
That's actually the next song.
Is that your next song?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got those back to back on my playlist. So
because again, that's like one of their quote up tempo songs, and it's like a mid tempo song.
Well, they also did a cover of Me and the Devil Blues for the Pump It Up soundtrack.
Yes, they did.
And that's more of an up tempo type thing. Well, go ahead because I'm 5 songs in already.
All right,
you're only on
3.
Yeah.
Good Times, NXS, and Mike. Of course, I didn't write his name down.
From the Lost Boys soundtrack.
It's from the Lost Boys soundtrack. Hold on, let me get his name because he needs to be recognized along with
because he did all the vocals on that, right?
Jimmy Barnes.
No,
they switch off on him.
Do they?
The stuff that you're hearing, like, they go, the Mary, Mary, you're on my mind. That's Michael Hutchins singing that. But then when Jimmy Barnes comes in is when you're getting that real soulful, And so it's like they are switching off vocals, but yeah, that song just it again heading into high school, that song was huge, and it's like, all right, I get this. So
nice.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and double up on it here.
Yeah,
since
go ahead.
Here's one. I'm actually going to jump away from the 80s on this and go to the late 90s.
Sure.
Got You Where I Want You by the Flies.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
No, and that one actually should probably be on my playlist also.
That famously was on the Disturbing Behavior soundtrack.
Skipping class in college and going down to Hot Topic in Hickory Hollow because that was the only place there was one around.
Yeah,
we were riding in your Jeep and listening to this.
I know. And it's that soundtrack across the boards, it's really good. Like, it's one of my
great movie.
The movie's all right,
but the soundtrack is
the movie
good.
Is all right, and that's what I'll give you. It's all right.
Yeah,
but the soundtrack is freaking amazing. Very late 90s, but it does a great job of capturing everything that it needed to.
Yeah.
So, all right, what do you got next? Since I'm four, yeah, go ahead, because you got a couple more than I do.
Zeppelin.
Which one?
Off of Zeppelin 1. Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You.
Okay, that's good.
Starts out mellow, picks up, and absolutely kicks it towards the end.
Especially considering how into Zeppelin I was when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I don't have any Zeppelin on here because I don't really have... Zeppelin was kind of all-encompassing for me for those years, so it wasn't this song reminds me of... the biggest thing that Zeppelin, especially the album Zeppelin 4, reminds me of is playing Dragon Warrior during the summer on the NES. Like, I used to literally would play that game for hours and listen to Zeppelin 4 over and over and over and over again.
Everybody I knew for some reason, it was like, Zeppelin 4, Zeppelin 4, Zeppelin 4. I was like, well, what else they got? And I went back and started listening to everything else. Of course, my dad's brother encouraged that and had encouraged it at a young age. And that Zeppelin 1 album.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
The first 5 Zeppelin albums are all solid albums.
Yes, they are.
We're talking Zeppelin 1, 2, 3, 4, and Houses of the Holy is number 5. When you get to Physical Graffiti, it's a double album.
Yeah.
There's a good album in there.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of other stuff. When you get to
the live album, Song Remains the Same.
It's all right.
I've actually got cassette copies of it that my uncle gave me, and some of it is really awesome.
Yes,
and some of it's like
really not.
Wow.
But when you get to In Through the Outdoor and Presence, it's really like that. Especially when you get to Presence, which was the last. I think Presence was it Presence or Into the both of those two albums is basically the sound of a band that's getting ready to implode on itself.
Yeah.
Is basically what it comes down to, and it was one of those things that once, and I think rightfully so. Once John Bonham died, they called it quits, and they're like, all right, we can't. If it's not all 4 of us, then it's not going to be any of us.
And I'm kind of saying this as a drummer, but I'm also not saying this as a drummer.
Mm-hmm.
How do you really take that band forward without?
I know
without John Bonham,
you can't, because it's like every member of Led Zeppelin was perfect for Led Zeppelin.
Yeah,
and we have seen in the time since then that Robert Plant's solo stuff is not anywhere near as good as the stuff he did with Led Zeppelin. Jimmy Page's solo stuff is not anywhere near as good as the stuff he did with Led Zeppelin.
Now, I will say...
John Paul Jones...
That guy's brilliant.
He's brilliant. He did the right thing, though. He said, I'm going to go back and be a session musician and a producer. And that's pretty much it.
He's also done some collaboration stuff with some other people that's been really good.
Right.
And some of Robert Plant's solo stuff I've enjoyed. It's not been great, but I've enjoyed.
I haven't personally, but that's just me. It's kind of one of those being greater than its parts. You know, basically. You know. So anyway,
what's your next one?
My next one, "Poison" by Alice Cooper. Yes.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Again, we're back into that late '80s, metal stuff.
Absolutely,
and that's that is such a good that Trash album is a good album.
Yeah, it is.
From top to bottom, but
so good in concert.
Oh, I know.
I saw him open up for Motley Crue.
Yeah, I finally got to see him a couple of years ago, and it was one of those things. He's in his 70s now.
Yeah,
and he's still doing his thing, but to watch him move around the stage, he looks like he's in his 70s now. It's like, oh man, dude, you
I don't know. When I saw him,
when I saw him,
spry.
he wasn't. I
really?
mean, yeah, it was. Now, the thing with Alice Cooper is you don't go to see him run around the stage and all that kind of stuff.
It's about the
exactly. It's about all the rest of the stuff and the music, and I'm like, that's fine.
And to find out what hotshot guitar player he's discovered
he had
this time.
3 guitar players with him when I saw him. Of course, Nina was with him, and then I forget who the other 2 guys were.
See, Nina wasn't with him when I saw him.
She's so good.
He had somebody else, and they were amazing.
Yeah.
So
what's your next one?
I went back to Zeppelin.
Okay.
Off of Houses of the Holy, I went with the Crunge. The Crunge. It's one that doesn't get a whole lot of attention.
I should know this because I used to know these albums backwards and
forward. But it's a great little tune. But the way it ends... Has anybody seen the bridge?
Oh, the bridge. Okay, that song, yeah. Anybody seen that doggone bridge? Yeah, I know.
Yeah. No, it's just
you find the bridge.
It's just kind of a quirky... Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I really enjoy that one.
Yeah, that is a quirky little song.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to the early 90s.
Yeah.
I would do anything for love, but I wouldn't do that by Meatloaf.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes. That album was released in I would have to look it up. It was released at the either at the very end or the summer or at the very beginning of fall.
Yeah.
And it just carried through, and it was like, oh yeah, and yes, that 1993, man, that Meatloaf made a huge comeback.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, from being basically being a punchline to being one of the biggest acts in the world at the time. So
people always made fun of Meatloaf, but I've always had a small affinity.
I love Meatloaf, dude. I love Meatloaf. So
I actually found a well-loved copy of "Bat Out of Hell" on vinyl.
That is such a good album.
Yeah, it is.
From beginning, there is not a bad song on there at all.
No,
and
people make fun of the third album, "Back Into Hell."
Well,
and I actually
wasn't his third album, but it was of that trilogy.
That trilogy,
I didn't like it particularly.
I liked it.
Even Bat Into Hell 2.
John 5 helped write a lot of it.
Even Bat Out of Hell 2, there's a few songs on there that I'm kind of like about, but there's enough of the other stuff that I'm like, oh no, this is it's still a very, very good album. Bat in Hell 3 I didn't, and what was it, Welcome to the Neighborhood, I wasn't really big on that one. That was in between the two.
I can see that.
Again, there was a couple of songs in there that was pretty good. We talked about with Diane Warren, that she had written Not a Dry Eye in the Place, but yeah, anyway, so what do you got next?
Off of Master of Reality.
Okay.
Children of the Grave.
Okay.
Black Sabbath.
Yeah. I probably should have some Black Sabbath on here, but I don't. Probably should have some Ozzy on here, but I don't.
I've got an Ozzy track on here.
If I were going to have an Ozzy track, it would probably be No More Tears.
Okay. I can see that out of you.
Yeah.
What you got next?
Your favorite band in the world?
Oh, boy.
Metallica. With Enter Sandman. And there's a reason, okay?
Okay.
There is a reason that this one... Oh, you know what? I left a song off of here. I'll get it in a minute. Again...
You picked a band that I liked the early stuff.
I know.
But...
again...
And then you picked probably my least favorite song.
1991. I'm heading into my senior year of high school.
Yeah, I get it.
And right as I'm going in, Metallica drops the Black Album. You know, at the time they were like in my top 3 favorite bands.
Yeah.
You know, actually they were probably my top 2 favorite bands. It was them and Guns N' Roses back and forth. You know?
Yeah.
And it was just one of those like, oh wow, I'm almost out of high school. I'm like going into my senior year. My favorite band drops an album, and I really like it, you know. And you know, over the years, I've softened on how much I like that album. I think there's better songs on there, but that song in particular, because that was the first single, and it was everywhere, and they blew up like you would not believe after almost a decade,
and
you know.
Everybody loved it.
I know. And it was the whole, those of us who'd been with them for a long time, it was kind of now everybody's listening to my band. This sucks, you know. But but at the same time, it was also kind of cool to see, like, quote unquote, my band take over the world, you know. And it was like, yeah, okay, that's cool, you know.
I was actually excited to see it drop, and then that was the first single off of it, and I was like, well, that's not great.
Yeah.
What's the next one? Oh, well, that's not any better. What's the next one?
Oh, come on. The second single on there, or the second song on the album is
I said
Sad But True.
I said the second single that they dropped.
The second single was it Unforgiven?
Yes.
Yeah, it was Unforgiven, and then I think Nothing Else Matters was the next single. And then it was
and I was like, it
was
wasn't.
No. It was Unforgiven, and then it was Sad But True. Then it was Nothing Else Matters, and then it was Wherever I May Roam was the next one.
And it wasn't getting better for me, and it wasn't getting better. And I finally went and bought it, and there was only like 3 songs off that entire album I really liked. I can't remember if I kept it or if I took it to CD Warehouse.
You've always been a grumpy old man, so it's. You're not arguing with me. So what's your next one?
See, we sat here and talked about this. My tablet went to sleep.
It's funny, you're operating on a tablet today, and I've got all mine written down on paper. We like switch sides.
I went with Alice Cooper.
Which one?
I'm 18.
That's a good one. That's a windows down, sun starting to go down, crank it up type of song. Yeah, that is
I like that early Alice Cooper stuff.
Alice, you go back and listen to that, like, you know, I'm 18 or School's Out
Billion
Dollar Babies or Under My Wheels or any of that early Elected, you know, any of that type stuff.
Yep.
I Know We're Mr. Nice Guy.
Yep.
It was really before he was still outwardly, Welcome to My Nightmare was kind of when he really started embracing the spookier, it was always
the terror rock,
right? It was the
horror rock,
right? The horror rock. There was always elements of stuff that was there, but it wasn't until he'd been around for a little bit that they really leaned into it. And it's funny to go back again and listen to all of that stuff.
He realized that the kids were loving
the
horror theme stuff. And he was like, okay, time to throw a shoulder in this.
And the thing with it is that you listen to that, all those songs that I mentioned there have a very distinct classic rock feel to them.
Yeah, they do.
You know, I mean, like, okay, that this plays great next to, you know, Zeppelin or Leonard Skinner or whatever, you know, type stuff. But then, like what I said with Poison was like when you get into the 80s, he started really embracing more of the metal, you know, ethos. It wasn't hard rock anymore. It was more into the metal stuff. And it changed, you know, and he's kind of stuck with that ever since, you know, and it's kind of cool. I enjoy it. But there is a big difference between his early stuff and then what came later.
Well, I mean, he knew how he could see where the trends were going, and he went that direction, and he realized all the horror stuff was going over into the metal, and that's where he hung his hat. Thank you, Alice.
Yes, no joke. All right, my next one. Billy Idol's cover of Mony Mony.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a good one.
Yes. Again, reminds me of going back to high school. You know, I mean, it just, I was really, when I was putting this thing together, like how many of these songs reminded me of like
going back to school.
High school,
because that was totally, I had a radio in the bathroom when I was getting ready.
Oh
for
yeah,
class.
same here. Yeah.
It was always on 103 KDF,
right?
And inevitably that one would come on.
Oh yeah,
and it would shortly be followed up by Billy Squier, The Stroke.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I get that. All right, what's your next one?
More Alice Cooper.
Okay.
Feed My Frankenstein.
That's a good one too.
Yeah.
That was on the album After Trash. Hey Stupid. Is that what it was?
So,
I think it was.
maybe.
I think the name of the album was Hey Stupid.
I think you might be right.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I know that Hey Stupid and Feed My Frankenstein were on the same album, but I can't remember if the name of the album was Hey Stupid or I want to say that it was.
I think you're
guess
right.
we could look it up, but I'm not going to.
I'm lazy. I don't feel like it. What's your next one?
All right. I'm going to skip ahead for one here because everything past after this song is all 90s.
Okay. All right.
Wild Side by Motley Crue.
That's a good one.
Yes. Again, because that Girls, Girls, Girls album came out in the summer of 87. Girls, Girls, Girls was the first single. And then right as school was coming, as I think we were back in school about a month or so when they dropped that video for Wild Side. And it was like, oh, this is so awesome.
Wild Side was one of the songs that I first learned how to play on
drums.
Drum
Kit. Yeah. But yeah,
it was easy enough. It was getting the stick twirls.
I could have put Dr. Feelgood on there also, but I thought that Wild Side was a better representation. So what do you got next?
White Zombie.
Which one?
Blood, Milk, and Sky.
Love that song. I used to play that song all the time on my radio show. I love that song.
I did too. It's
probably my favorite White Zombie song. And it's sad that White Zombie only put out 2 albums. I know they had a third one that was Los Exorcisto, but it was an indie release and it's real hard to come by. Real hard. But they really only put out 2 albums.
2 albums, and both albums
are great.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm more of a White Zombie fan than I am a Rob Zombie fan, and I love Rob Zombie.
I do too, but I would love, and that's another one of those I've never understood why he hasn't put the band back together for a tour.
Oh, I know.
I mean, because there doesn't seem to be any real animosity between, because John Tempesta played with him for a number of years after he went solo.
Yep.
It was just getting Jay Younger and Sean Isolt were the only 2 that went away.
Yeah.
And I really liked. Sean had a band called Famous Monsters that they only put out 1 album, and you can't find it anywhere. It's out of print.
I actually own it.
You do?
And I saw them play at the end.
I did too.
Yeah.
I know, and they were great. And I was like, dude, I want to hear more of this. And
in fact, I think she sat down at the bar next to us and talked to us at one point.
But yeah, I've never quite understood that.
Yeah.
I don't know with the whole, because there hasn't been no one's come out and done an interview about like, oh, Rob Zombie's a giant asshole or anything. Well, there have been people who've done that, but not people he played with, so it's kind of one of those like, what's going on here, so anyway.
Well, you're talking about your radio show. The next few I've got are very much from when I was doing college radio. Mm-hmm. So that's one of them.
Okay.
What you got next?
This is completely out of left field, I'm sure. Billy Joel's River of Dreams.
Okay.
Again, was released at the very end of the summer 1993. I was in college. It was my second semester in college.
Sure.
And I very much remember this song being all over the place. And I was working at El Chico at the time. And I remember it was one of the songs that used to play over, the music that they piped in. It was one of the songs that we could hear like every night, a couple of times, And Billy Joel, that's the last album he released, was in 1993.
Really?
Yes. And
that doesn't seem right, but I'm sure you're right.
It is right. I mean, now he's released a couple of compilations, best of Volume 3 and a few that kind of stuff. Yeah, but as far as studio albums, this was the last studio album that he released. Now, he has released at least 1 single since then which was To Make You Feel My Love, which was actually on his Best of Volume 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
And, of course, Garth Brooks covered it and made it even bigger than what he did. It's funny. Billy Joel would write a song, and then Garth Brooks would cover it and make it huge, you know?
Yeah.
But...
Well, I mean, Billy's not really looking great.
Well, these days, you know, it's a...
There's like one picture out there where it's him behind a harmonica, and he looks like Anakin
I
Skywalker
know,
without the Darth Vader helmet on.
It's well, it happens to all of us as we age, you know. It's a... but it's just one of those
talking
things.
About I'm just getting better.
Well, in that David Cronenberg The Fly kind of way.
Oh, not nice, not nice at all.
But yeah, Billy Joel hasn't released a studio album in almost 30 years now.
Wow,
if you can imagine that. And what's funny is the very last song that was on the album was called, I think it was called Last Words. And like the chorus is, these are the last words I'll ever say or something like that. Yeah. And that was the last thing that he put out. That was
he dropped the mic and walked
kind of a little
stage,
bit, you know. So anyway, what do you got next?
Prong. Snap your fingers, snap your neck.
Prong. Okay.
Just good, heavy groove
Prong,
based.
yes. Prong is kind of one of those, and I hate to say it, they were kind of one of those also-rans, like in that.
It was kind of them and Corrosion of Conformity, who I also love.
Yeah, you know, and it's like they had an audience, but they never rose above that audience. You know, it was like I've seen Prong and Corrosion of Conformity open for multiple bands. Of like
they just
hey,
they were
them
a good
again.
band. They were a good solid working band.
Yes.
They just could just never get
and
past.
I do know that
level
after Glenn Danzig kind of disbanded that original Danzig lineup, that the guitar player from Prong joined Danzig for a couple of albums. But it's still not the same as John Christ, because that original Danzig, like that original lineup, you had Chuck Biscuits and Eerie Vaughan and John Christ. That was a major band of like, wow, these are heavy hitters, you know. So I think it's funny that like every couple of years, or I guess maybe not every couple, but every about 5 years or so, there's like a report that resurfaces that Chuck Biscuits died. Yeah. And then he's always like, nope, still here.
Still around. Still doing my thing.
So,
what you got next?
That was mine. Oh, no, you said Prong.
I said Prong, and then it went over into Danzig. And
Candlebox, Far Behind.
I have a love-hate relationship
I know.
Candlebox.
The stuff that I love by Candlebox, I love.
Yeah.
The stuff that I dislike by Candlebox, I really dislike.
Well, there's also a relationship.
I know.
Or not a relationship story.
Oh, I know. Yeah, you've told that story before.
Have I told that on here?
About about the girl going to the show with you just to go to the show.
One tickets to go see it at 328. Mm-hmm. Even bought her the T-shirt. It's like, oh no, we're gonna be friends. Mm-hmm. It's like, but anyway.
All right, what's your next one?
Sepultura.
Which song?
Take a guess.
Sepultura.
I'll tell you, it's off the Roots album.
Is it Roots, Bloody Roots?
Nope. Radamahata.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is one of two songs that was in heavy rotation during my show, because
it was the last album that Max was on also.
It was the last album that Max was on before that he went and put together Soulfly, which the next semester ended up being a heavy rotation album for the metal show.
Yep.
And we didn't get a whole lot of listeners, but I had people that would actually call in and request this one.
Yeah. I used to play Roots, Bloody Roots on mine quite a bit.
Too,
I love that album. That Roots album is so good. If you haven't listened, I mean, Sepultura, they're a metal band, but they're from Brazil.
Yes, they are.
And so they really like leaned into like a lot of that Brazilian, like the drums and everything.
Tribal stuff.
Oh man, it's such a good album
and heavy.
Yes,
so
dude.
Heavy.
I saw them that year. Ozzy came to town, and it was basically, it wasn't Ozfest
yet.
yet.
But it basically was Ozfest.
Well, here's the thing, and I can prove it.
And you were talking about the bringing in the Brazilian drumming and the Indian drumming and all that. Ratamahata totally leans into that. I mean, it starts with that and it ends with that.
I've got, and I will put this up on. I will put this up on our Instagram because I've said this for years, and people are like, the first Ozfest was in '97. No, the first Ozfest was in '96. Here is the flyer from where they played at Starwood. It says the Ozfest. Ozzy Osbourne with very special guest Danzig, special guest Sepultura, and Biohazard.
Yep.
And I had tickets for this, and I went to, and they did, and it was so cool is that they had the drums set up on the stage, and they all played. Everybody played. So it was one of those things that, like, in some of that stuff where they had the breakdowns, everybody's up there drumming, and it was so freaking awesome.
Oh yeah.
And but yeah, that was and that was a solid lineup too. Ozzy, Danzig, Sepultura, and Biohazard, and it was just like, dude, these guys. That was a good show. So, all right,
what you got next?
There's another one that's a little off. Maybe not really. I got a couple of more mellow songs here.
With you, it's always a little off.
Sheryl Crow, If It Makes You Happy.
I can see that out of you. Yeah,
that song. I'm not a huge Sheryl Crow fan, but I love that song.
Yeah.
And again, it reminds me of the fall of '96. It was 25 years ago now, which I can't believe that. I was going back to college. Like, I had taken some time off because my grades were in the crapper. and
were your grades ever not in the crapper?
Yeah. Well, it depends. It depends on the semester.
And how much we were skipping class.
And how much time I was spending at El Rey Azteca. It usually had a lot to do with it.
I wasn't going to mention the place, but since you did.
I will. The thing is that, yes, that was back in my, being young and in my drinking days, but they also had really good food. It wasn't just the margaritas that drew me up there.
No, the food was excellent.
The food was excellent, and they're still open.
And the fact that they used to do karaoke.
No, that was...
was that not El Rey?
No. You're thinking of...
It was a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
I thought that was El Rey.
No. I can't believe I can't remember the name of that place.
All right, let it go.
But yeah, no. El Rey was the one that wasn't right there right off the town square. It was the one that if you kept going up 25, out towards the hospital. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about Loco Lupe's was the name of the place.
Yes.
That was the one. Yeah, no, they did karaoke, and we all wound up there at
eventually.
night usually. Yeah. It was, but yeah, if it makes you happy, that just. Again, fall of '96. It reminds me, and I have so many memories around that particular semester, especially about She Who Will Not Be Named. I have enough times in my life said the name, and all of a sudden she appears out of a cloud of smoke, and it's like, oh crap.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
So what's your next one?
It's off that first Seven Dust album.
Okay.
Black.
Okay.
You don't remember it, do you?
I know at one point I had the first Seven Dust album, but I cannot pull...
I remember when this CD showed up at the radio station, their record company had actually sent it as a promo piece.
They were on Roadrunner.
Roadrunner used to send a lot of stuff.
Dude.
Roadrunner, and there was another one that had like... I can't remember. But the guys because at this point I was an assistant music director for the rock and metal shows. And Roadrunner, the guys from Roadrunner would actually call the station. Occasionally I would be in the station and be like, hey, can we talk to your music director? And they would hand me the phone.
For the Roadrunner records was out of New York.
Yeah.
And they really, in the mid-'90s, when everything was going grunge, they really doubled down on metal.
Yes, they did.
And
promoted hard at the college stations.
And they ran until, no pun intended. I don't know if they're still around or not, but they had like a really good run because the thing is they had like Typo Negative and they had Sepultura wasn't on Roadrunner, but oh crap, no, I can't remember. can't pull all the. They had a ton of bands that were on there that were like named. System of a Down got their start on Roadrunner.
Yes,
they eventually moved to somebody. But it was one of those things where they had a bunch.
Yeah.
Of Machine Head was on Roadrunner.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Not Fear Factory was on Roadrunner, and so was Cold Chamber. And I mean, it's one of those things that you just like start going down the line of like who all they had in the mid to late '90s. It was like, whoa.
And because they took the time to actually call the station and talk to the guy who was actually helping program the rock and metal shows, they got a lot of airplay out of me.
Yeah. So. Oh man! Since you said that, we went in the Roadrunner.
Yeah,
I've got a Typo Negative song.
Nice. I figured you would.
I've got Love You to Death.
Yeah,
on here again. That '96 album. I love that album to this day.
I actually looked at doing some Typo, but I figured you would probably have 2 or 3 songs.
I only just have the one song, but that one was definitely a. Oh yeah, because I mean it very much. The name of the album was October Rust that it was on, so that tells you everything you need to know about this. I mean, it was that very like that slow prodding goth metal, type. Of course, Peter Steele with that real deep voice, and R.I.P. And just they were so good. I've seen them in concert a couple times, and they were just so good.
Unfortunately, I missed those shows.
Oh man, I saw them open for Pantera once, and then I saw them play 328 as the headliner, and they were just great both times. So,
yeah.
What's your next one?
Well, because I used to open my show with this song from time to time, do you remember Rock and Roll Radio?
Oh, yeah.
From the Ramones.
Yes, that's a good one. That's a good one. I don't have any Ramones on here. I know that's kind of odd for me, but they don't. Pet Sematary might get me that. But
since you mentioned that one, that's actually the next song on my list. A double shot of Ramones.
Yeah, that Pet Sematary is such a good song. So, you can never go wrong with a double shot of the Ramones, man.
No, absolutely not.
That's the stuff, man. My next one, I have Sarah McLachlan's "Building a Mystery."
Okay,
that has a very fall feel to it. That whole, that album came out. I looked it up because it was released in like August. I think it was like in August of '97. Which is really weird because like the first Lilith Fair took place in '97, which means that she put all that together before releasing the album.
Sounds to me like she put it together to release the album.
There could be that also, yeah.
Giant marketing.
That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if that.
It's a really smart idea.
It very much is. So, but yeah, that song just I still love that that Surfacing album is still it still makes the rotation.
Yeah,
in my stuff. And, I have a complicated relationship with Sarah McLachlan.
Well, first off, she doesn't know you, so you shouldn't be stalking her like that.
All right, let me rephrase that. I have a complicated relationship with Sarah McLachlan's music. Let's put it that way.
There you go.
Because I like a good chunk of her music.
Okay.
A good chunk of that music, though, got extremely overplayed in the late 90s.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff off of Surfacing, like if I never hear Arms of the Angel ever again,
if I see one more
of those ASPCA commercials, I know it's
with all the dogs that are beaten
looking
up,
sad. I know,
looking
it's
sad. It's gotten to the point to where me and the wife are sitting there watching TV, and it comes on, and she's like,
turn it.
She's covering her eyes, going,
I'm like, turn it. I'm turning it. That's I love that meme that went around a few years ago.
We don't need another dog in our house. Thank you very much.
What was that meme? It's like every once in a while I make my dogs watch the Sarah McLachlan commercial so they know how good they have it. It's like,
oh no. That sounds like something you would do, you twisted individual.
But then the stuff that she did on what was the name of that album that came out after that? And it was like, if you go back and listen to her like Fumbling Towards Ecstasy album.
No, I've got a good bit of that.
And then you move into Surfacing, and there's a change between the two.
Yeah, not for the better for me.
But there's a change. It's one of those things where like she's exploring other stuff. Okay, then you get into what was the name of that album? And it was like years later. Like literally, I mean, it was like in the mid 2000s when she released it. It was like a big gap in there.
Yeah, sure.
And it was like, oh, you're just decided this is where you're going to settle in, and you're not going to do anything different ever again.
She found where the money was at,
and then they put Lilith Fair back together after that, and was going to go back out on it. And like, I think it wound up canceling like half the tour dates or something, and then ultimately wound up canceling the entire tour.
Yeah,
because the ticket sales were so bad. And it's like, wow, the times have changed, and so it's weird how that happened.
You didn't keep up.
Well, it's funny because Ozfestival goes out every year, and it's like
well, that's because metal fans are the best fans on the face of the planet.
Anyway, what do you got next?
Well, it wasn't until I moved in the middle of my high school career, and when I moved in, there was this one dude that I sat next to in art class. And we talked music and all that, and he mentioned this band. I was like, I've never heard of them. And he goes, what? And the next day he came in with a cassette tape that he had recorded from one of his albums, and it was Earth AD. Misfits.
Yes.
That's where I got my introduction to the Misfits. So on this one, I've got Die Die My Darling.
Nice. It's funny how like you're doing all this punk stuff, and I'm like, I'm doing all the metal stuff over here. It's like,
I've got some metal on here too.
I know, but it's just like that's actually really funny, especially if you know Dave and I, because
it's usually the other way.
It really is. Dave's the metal guy, and I'm the punk guy, and it's wow. Yeah, Misfits.
But Earth AD was my introduction to the Misfits.
I remember.
And what's funny is he was mainly a hip-hop guy.
Oh, really?
that drove a customized lowrider VW Bug.
Nice.
Which was kind of interesting.
I knew about the Misfits because of Metallica. Because, they had covered Last Caress on the Garage Days Revisited album. And then I also knew about, and yes, it was called Sam Hain. I know it's pronounced Samhain, but they actually called the band Sam Hain, which was Glenn Danzig's post Misfits band.
Yep.
And then of course when that first Danzig album was released. Which was released a lot earlier than most people remember, because the thing with Mother, that album had been out for, well, let's see, Danzig 1 came out 90, I think it was.
That sounds correct.
And then I know that Danzig 2 came out while I was still in high school, and Danzig 3, How the Gods Kill, was released while I was in college.
Yes.
And it was after that album came out that they released Thrall Demon Sweat Live, and they re-released the song Mother as a single, and it blew up.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, wow, that's okay.
Well, no, no, wait a minute. Because Mother
was on Danzig 1.
Yeah, and
that's what I'm saying.
And it was a single, and it was fairly big back then.
But they re-released it in '94 or is it '93 or '94, and then it was just like
it had to have been '93
because it was when Thrall Demon Sweat Live was released.
Because when I was in high school, there was a talent show where there was a guy who came out,
sang it. Yeah.
No, didn't sing it. He came out and played the drums to it. And then after the song ended, went into like a big, huge drum solo.
Okay,
after
nice.
It, so.
But yeah, again, that's one of those things that song to become what it is now took several years for it to build.
Yeah.
But I remember, I said all that to say this, getting that Misfits collection CD, that first one, with the Crimson, the green with the Crimson Ghost, that everybody had. And listening to it for the first time and just being like, what is this? Like, whoa. I've never really been in... at that point, I had gotten into the Ramones by that point.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really into a lot of other punk music, and that was like, is there more of this out there?
Because it was now, fast, it was loud.
Outside of some skate punk.
It was raw.
I was just say, outside of some skate punk. Like I remember listening to the Dirty Rotten Imbeciles and Circle Jerks and, some stuff like that. Dead Kennedys, But it was one of those things that like that I hate to even say that the Misfits were first wave punk, because they weren't. They weren't.
No.
They weren't in that Ramones, Sex Pistols, Clash, go down the line of type stuff. But they were at least in that second wave of especially the New York punk stuff. You know, and so that was discovering that later was just like I want to hear more, and it was all done at that point. So
totally
all right, now that we've gone off on that one for a while, is it my turn again?
Yes, it's your turn again.
Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Red Right Hand.
Absolutely.
Most people discovered this song because of Scream.
Scream, yes.
I knew about this song prior to that.
Oh, we both did.
Yeah.
We both did.
I knew about Nick Cave for a little while prior to that. It was
because
just always
it's
kind of one of
such
those
a
like
dark, evil sounding song.
It is. Well, all of his stuff is just he's just such a weird. His song.
What a songwriter, too.
Oh, God, I know. And what a weirdo. And I say that in the best possible way.
I mean, we're all
I know.
weirdos.
And I just, wow. But, yeah, that song, it does. Again, it has, especially with that theremin, and everything, it definitely has that. Okay. So what do you got next?
More Misfits.
Okay.
Dig Up Her Bones.
Okay. I know that's one of your favorites.
I love that song from the Misfits.
Later Misfits.
Yes.
That's not Glenn Danzig Misfits. That's
what's
Doyle.
Yeah,
that's Doyle Misfits, which is fine. I mean, I like a lot of the Doyle stuff as well.
I like both.
Yeah,
the Danzig stuff is really, really good. Mm-hmm. The Coil stuff is really, really good.
Doyle,
it's more melodic. Whereas the Danzig stuff is very much street punk.
Some of it, but then you get songs like Skulls, which is very much a pop song. It's like,
But with Coil, you get more of the melodic, more musical side of the Misfits.
Yeah, Doyle definitely brought a different. He did. He placed his.
I say Coil on
Doyle.
Doyle.
Yes, Doyle. I know what you mean. It's one of those things with Doyle that like. When he joined the band. He gave them longevity.
Yeah.
It really was. It's one of those things like, okay, this is where we're jumping on. We're just going to go from here. And he's been with the band for 30 years now, I know. So, okay. My next one. I have 2 left. How many do you have left?
I have 2 left.
All right.
This has worked out somehow.
Hole's cover of Gold Dust Woman.
I know you love yourself some Hole.
I do love me some Hole. No pun intended. That came out really dirty.
That's totally not where I was going with that, but no surprise, he took it the wrong way.
I really do love the band Hole. I love Courtney Love.
What's her original drummer's name? I can't think of her name.
Not Samantha was the second one. Samantha Mahoney's the one that took her place. It was
that's what I'm thinking about because she also played with Motley Crue.
Yeah, that
right?
was She's not the original. She came on when Celebrity Skin was released. The original drummer. Oh man!
Well, the only reason
I can't remember it because there is a great documentary about her called "Hit So Hard." That's just about her. But of course, it covers a lot of the whole stuff as well. But
the only reason I mention it is because I saw her. In a documentary that's on Netflix here recently called Count Me In. That's about drummers and playing drums.
Oh,
and
nice.
She's one of them that gets interviewed.
Yeah, no, and she was a great drummer.
Which, if you haven't seen,
I'll have to check
if you've got
that one out.
Netflix,
well, Hit So Hard used to be on Netflix. That's where I saw it, and it's really good.
Well, Count Me In is on Netflix, and it's about drummers and kind of,
other people that hang out with musicians.
Yeah. Oh, hey, that's it. I'm just going to turn him off. There's no.
You really think that's going to keep him heard?
Yeah. All right. I guess it's my time.
What was it you said whenever I talked? You said that I was banned from speaking at your funeral.
Yes.
I was like, you really think you're going to keep me from talking at your funeral?
Because I've already been talking about people and the guest list and all of that. And if you show up, there's on strict orders to have you escorted out.
Well,
I can't have you telling those stories.
Oh, man.
And actually, my next song, because the note.
Oh, what I was going to say with Gold Dust Woman, though, that was on the
go
Crow
ahead.
City of Angels soundtrack,
Yes.
which was released at the very end of the summer. And that soundtrack is another great soundtrack.
Yeah, it is.
And
the fact that Iggy Pop's in the movie.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And the Deftones are on there.
Yes.
White Zombie. trying to think who else. Oh gosh, who else? There's a bunch of. I have to go back and look again, but it's a really great soundtrack. So
yeah.
Okay, so what do you got?
So Dick Ripper Bones, I don't know what note it is, but every time it ends, it immediately goes, "Oh, that sounds like Snake Driver from Jesus and Mary Chain from the Crow soundtrack."
Okay,
so that's my next one.
There you go.
Is Snake Driver.
That's a good one. Oh, dude, I probably should have had something off of that soundtrack. Oh, you know which one I didn't put on here that should be?
What's that?
We'll come back to it.
No, we're talking about the Crow soundtrack. So what do you got?
Big Empty.
That's a good one.
That is kind of like the song that's associated with the Crow, with the movie. But again, it has that, especially with that slide guitar and everything. Yeah. It does have that real,
that's not my favorite song off that soundtrack.
I
love that song from The Cure.
The Cure's,
I like the song from was it Time Baby 3?
Well, the what's her name? It Can't Rain All the Time.
Oh, the closing song? I can't think of her name.
What is her name? Jill, it's not...
Cybele?
No, something like that. It
starts with an S. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
I got it here. At least I think I do. But yeah, that soundtrack, again, that first Crow movie is great. The soundtrack is great. The second Crow movie is awful, but the soundtrack is great.
Yes, that is true.
All right, my last one.
Yeah.
Again, staying in the 90s. Like all these last ones are in the 90s, but this was actually like a high school thing.
Okay.
We Die Young by Alice in Chains.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Scaries on the wall. Yeah, I mean, it's just got like that, that was the second single after Man in the Box, which was like really big throughout the summer. And then again, I remember We Die Young being released and like, oh yeah, this is awesome, These guys are weird. They are. I remember that the whole thing with Alice in Chains whenever Facelift was released, being like, I like these guys. They kind of scare me a little bit. Like, they're not the usual metal that I listen to that I'm used to. They have something different going on here.
I like the scary stuff.
I know, and it was very much a...
It had a sinister feel to it.
It did, especially that first album, And of course, they kind of mellowed a little bit, but Dirt is a great album.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, Them Bones, I remember that being the first single release, and it was just like, oh, wow,
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, Damn That River and everything else that's on there. But, that Facelift album, I just remember it being like, yeah, it belongs here next to all this other music that I listen to, but it's not like all this other music that I listen to.
That's why it stood out like
yeah,
it did.
I know. And especially that video for Man in the Box, it was like, okay, these guys are definitely different. It's like,
oh yeah.
But yeah, We Die Young by Alice in Chains. That's a good one. I'm sure if we kept talking, I could think of a whole bunch more.
I've got one more.
Okay, well, yeah.
It's actually my number 20, but
okay.
People kind of look at me funny when I say this, but this is probably my favorite song from Ozzy from the solo stuff that he did, and it's off of Ultimate Sin.
Okay.
Shot in the Dark.
That's a good song. That is a good song.
I love that song.
It's different because it's really synth heavy, like really synth heavy, which is not something that Ozzy did a lot. And that whole Ultimate Sin album is kind of synth heavy. Again, it was that late 80s. That the same thing with Poison by Alice Cooper.
Yeah,
a lot of synthesizers on that.
Well, it's not even so much that. It's because it is fairly melodic,
very melodic,
and it's got a completely different feel from everything he's ever done. And this is like the ultimate. For me, this is like the 1 in the morning cruising around. Streets are fairly empty type song.
It's one of those songs that and Ozzy has always had incredible guitar players with him. And I think, was Zach with him at this point, or was it still Jakey Lee?
I don't remember.
Whoever it was, it's still the guitar solo in the song is odd for an Ozzy song because it's melodic.
Yeah.
There's not any shredding on it. It's just like, no, they kind of like really got in the groove on this with the solo, and it's like, okay, this is it is. It's definitely different, but it's a great song.
It stands out from the rest of the album.
Yeah, it does. It stands out from all of Ozzy's stuff. Yeah. It really does, because it's a little poppier than anything that he did before or since. Yeah. So that's a good one.
And he's actually kind of singing, and he's kind of earnest a little bit. So yeah,
I got you. All right, well, cool. Well, that is our list of fall songs, and we will definitely.
It's a very strange.
It
list.
It is a strange. Well, not really. It is, but it isn't. I mean, you and I have different. We have similar tastes in music, but we also have different tastes in music.
Yeah,
it's a. It's funny because I don't have any Concrete Blonde on here, which I could have.
I was shocked.
I know. I mean, I
absolutely
very
shocked.
Easily could have put Joey or the Vampire Song or anything off of Bloodletting. Honestly, that's a. Or Heal It Up off of Mexican Moon would have been a good one.
The fact that I had 0 Marilyn Manson on this list.
I almost put Manson on here. I almost put Tool on here. Because Enema came out like right there, in '96, like right before the fall of the year, and it's there are always, we could put a lot of stuff on these lists,
absolutely.
But we will have I will put playlists for both mine and Dave's up here on YouTube, so you can go and watch the music videos or just listen to the songs or whatever, because that's what I always do.
Yes, you do.
But yeah, thank you for tuning in for this episode of the Project Gen X podcast. You can find us on Instagram and on Discord and on Facebook. And
I'm not going to delete the Facebook page.
Well, there
at this
you go.
Point,
I know.
Because
we've actually picked up a couple of people.
We picked up some folks, and there's.
I finally got the Instagram page, or not the Instagram page, but the our website linked up.
Nice.
With the Facebook, so now that it automatically posts the new episodes over there now. So
I've also gone over and listed the Discord server on Facebook and the Instagram on Facebook,
and you can get all of that stuff also in the show notes on this if you're listening.
Absolutely.
I have something. Honestly, it'll probably wind up being me and Dave doing it anyway, but I definitely have something in the pipelines right now that I'm working on. Have you met my friend? A new podcast that will be on, and yes, we are going to have a network when all this is said and done, because we're working on a couple of things. But I've actually got a couple of episodes recorded for this, and looks like I got a couple more. Maybe it's probably not going to be a weekly thing. It might be like a monthly. Or something, like, depending on how many people I can get in here.
Sure.
But that will be dropping soon.
Come over and produce a little.
Yeah, I'll probably. That's what I'm saying. It's I can do it, but Dave has played music with me enough to know that I am very much the. What does this do? I don't know. Here, just turn it up. Okay, let's go. Hey, I got this new amp. No, I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to plug in and go. Let's go. It's just.
And then I'll spend 3 or 4 hours getting the thing to sound just the way it should.
No, the way he thinks it should. And then I'll come in and be like, no.
And he's turned on everything up to 10 again.
I just kind of like take my hand and like run it along the knobs, and like wherever they end, that's where they hit.
And I go, where did all the tone go? Why is the tone all gone?
So, but yeah, be looking for that. We will definitely put a preview up here, not the entire episode, but a preview of that whenever it does drop. But be looking forward here in the next little bit. And
Oktoberfest is coming.
Oktoberfest is right around the corner, and
we are officially in the spooky season.
We have most of our episodes planned. We still have a couple of them that we're. What are we going to do here? I don't know. It looks like we might have a guest to come and sit down with us for a couple episodes, so at least an episode, and that should be interesting. So we've got some stuff planned for the next 2 months, basically.
I have an idea for a second guest.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I have no problem with that. So,
and it's one of your folks.
One of my folks.
Yeah, one of your folks.
Okay, we'll talk about it then. So guys, thank you. Oh, I bet I know who you're talking about. Now that I think about it, like, okay.
We can do a combo show.
I would love to do that. No, I'm sure that I'm sure he'd be down for it. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and indulging us and us like kind of rambling about music because it's what we do. We try not to throw too many music episodes on you at once, but the next episode is going to be a music episode also. Just letting you know.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Because we kind of like, hey, I guess it was me. I was like, hey, we should do this. Hey, I also have this other one that we ought to do. So it's but yeah. So thank you so much. I am Alan Smith.
I'm the other guy, Big Dave.
And we will see you next time.
See ya.